The international education sector was left shaken this month after the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency announced a new rule that would have prevented international students in the country from attending colleges and universities offering online-only courses. After an immediate backlash from colleges, universities, municipalities and tech companies, the Trump administration quickly backtracked and rescinded the directive. While stakeholders in the sector celebrated the result, questions still remain about how international students perceive the US as a study destination. We spoke with Shay Applewhite, an international student at Harvard College. Andrew Ullman is co-founder at University Bridge, a US college pathways program for international students. Jonathan Whitehouse is University Bridge's Vice President Global of Recruitment. And Haviva Parnes is Compliance and Academic Director, North America at EC English Language Centres. They told us what the long-term effects of the directive may be, how much disruption it has caused, and if the US is still an attractive prospect for students around the world.
It just came out as an announcement, and it was a real big shock to, I think, pretty much most universities, because what should be paramount at the moment is securing safety of the students. And if you're saying to students, traveling right now is not the best idea because there's so many restrictions on borders, quarantining, it's also incredibly difficult to get a flight around the world these days. So I think it was just not very well thought out.
Microsoft Teams started blowing up. My phone started exploding. Everyone asking, have I seen the new SEVP stuff? And then I had a chance to read through it after the call. And to be honest, my first reaction was a bit of sadness. It felt like such a dichotomy to what was happening in Canada. There was this sort of welcoming, and we're going to work together to welcome these students. And then it felt like in the US, there was our last chance of getting students to come. And it was kind of being thrown out the window.
I was really concerned, and I felt very kind of scared of that. I mean, I'd have to kind of leave the US before I finish my degree. It just felt like kind of, as an international student, we are no longer being wanted by the government. A lot of us are questioning whether we actually want to kind of say continue on in the path in America. And I know some friends who had thought that was their path aren't doing that anymore. And I think, it's a big question as to whether America will decide what direction it wants to go in.
I mean, I think I was actually giddy yesterday. It has been a long time. I mean, just with everything that's happening in the US, it's been a long time since I think we felt like we've won anything. Like there was any sense of kind of hopefulness that was coming from external. I think we've had a lot of hopeful moments internally, but externally, it always feels like there's a lot of pressure and a lot of negativity and a lot of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But when this news came out, it felt like for the first time, it was a genuine sort of win.
I think I'm relieved that I'm not celebrating. I'm very concerned for the future of how the Trump administration will treat immigrants, including international students. And I think what this order really symbolizes is an attack both on higher ed and on kind of immigrant rights, and it allowed him to do both at the same time.
I think, unfortunately, we still have a really, I guess I'd call it a branding issue here in the US. I do think the overwhelming sentiment is that I do think students feel like they're always on the line of being told to leave or that they're not welcome here. I do think that that's a really hard thing that we have as institutions and schools that we have to battle, and we have to make clear to them isn't really the case, that we will keep them safe and that they are welcome and we do want them here.
Well, we've told folks, at University Bridge that are out there, in various countries, in Malaysia, in Vietnam, in China, in Hong Kong, in Russia, in the UAE, and what have you. The US is a complicated place, right? And like I said, just because of the actions of a few, it doesn't mean that that will actually, be put into place and become law.
I mean, there's a lot of negativity about US numbers. People say the market's not good. There's been too much publicity this year. I think there's still a lot of students who the US is their first choice. I don't think it should always be a negative picture. I think there's a lot of people who say to me, oh, even some agents are worried about promoting the US, but actually it's still a great destination and people are still welcome, and they should see that in the education community, people care a lot about their international students. I think it's very unusual for big decisions like that to be reversed so quickly. So yeah, I think the future is actually very, very positive. And I think for the US, they are doing everything they can to get the visa offices open now as well.